Hello and welcome to episode 8 of Carvers and Creators. We are streaming live today to YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. We humbly ask that you please consider giving us a like and a follow. And please let us know in the comments where you're watching from. And if you have any questions for our carvers. My name is Michael Mondragon. I'll be running the show, moderating comments, chiming in from time to time. And I have a special reveal of my own later in the show. First, let me introduce the pumpkin carvers for tonight. First, he was a finalist on Halloween Wars 2019 for the Food Network, carving out of Tucson, Arizona, Matt Harper. Welcome.
Thank you.
Next up, he was the winner of Outrageous Pumpkins 2019 on the Food Network, carving out of a remote area of Maine. Beautiful CGI back there, by the way. But no, it's gorgeous. Paul Dever, welcome.
Hey guys.
I was told that I should have had some sort of applause, some sort of sound effect for all the introductions, but that'll probably be later down the line.
Down the road, yeah, we got that covered.
Our guest carver is a self-taught artist based in Long Beach, New York. He was supposed to be on episode 5 of Carvers and Creators a few weeks back, but due to a power outage was unable to connect. But he is back safe and sound, and we are lucky to have him. He is a sculptor, carver, carpenter. Please welcome the multi-talented Lenny Calvin. Welcome.
Great to be here, guys.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for joining.
Yeah,
So we have a little tradition at the beginning of the show. We have a toast. Does everybody have? Do you have a drink, Lenny?
Yeah. What am
All
I
right.
drinking?
Guinness.
Have a Guinness.
What am I drinking?
Matt, what are you drinking tonight?
I can start. I decided I put it in a Heineken cup just to throw everybody off, but I was yawning earlier today, so I'm drinking a Red Bull right now. Nothing's more exciting than a giant Red Bull in a Heineken cup, but
That is a lot of Red Bull.
it is. But this'll get me started and make sure I perform well, and then a beer.
Perfect.
Nice.
Lovely.
Nice. What do you got, Lenny?
I have a Guinness.
Ooh, frosty.
Frosty
Nice.
Oh,
Nice. And Paul, I saw a red Solo cup. So what do you got over there?
wife afterwards.
Well, as everybody knows, when you are camping, you can't drink enough beer. Well, I fixed that problem, and I'm so sick of beer that I've gone to margaritas.
Oh,
Yeah.
nicely done.
There you go.
Yeah.
How about
I'm
you,
done
Mickey?
cracking.
What are you enjoying there?
On my beer baseball show on Tuesday, I actually had one of these. It's a Belching Beaver Deftones Phantom Bride from the band The
Wow.
Deftones. Yeah,
The
so that's
Deftones.
out of
Wow.
San Diego. Yeah, it's
Very
super
cool.
cool artwork on it too. So I'm definitely loving this one. So
Very nice.
Hey, Mickey, do you save those cans?
I do. I save a lot of them. I have this really awesome one from Mick Heller that has this awesome Freddie Mercury drawing on it by this very famous artist, which I should know off the top of my head, but I don't. But I do save a lot of these cans, and I'm going to display them and actually do a whole bunch of stuff with them.
Yeah, that last one.
Cool.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
I did that in college, but mine I didn't clean them out, and it smelled horrible.
Well, man, I didn't go to college, so I'm starting late.
All right, well, it's the same thing.
They were like
So,
a pyramid of Bud Light cans.
Exactly. Yeah. Mine weren't collectors. They just were like, I was showing off about my liver damage, I think, at that point.
So, Lenny, let's start with you. What are you carving tonight?
Well, I started off. I've been playing around with doing clay maquettes to getting my ideas kind of ironed out.
That was dynamite.
This was inspired by a artist near Greece, a guy named George, and I wish I could pronounce his last name. I can't, but he's an amazing artist. And this idea was kicking around in my head from a couple seasons ago, and I saw his work, and it inspired me to do my own little thumbprint on something he had put together. Yeah. How cool is that stuff?
Wow.
Yeah.
Whoa.
He's amazing. Amazing stuff. So, with that said, here is, I'll set this thing up. Here is,
Nice.
Is that, I don't know if that
Wow.
God.
lighting is terrible.
Wow, Lenny Calvin,
Outstanding.
everybody. Look at that. My God.
Wow, Lenny, that is crazy. And I love the tentacles, and you've even got the suction, the suckers on there. Or
Yeah, yeah. I just
Wow.
started applying those. Those are potatoes.
okay.
So he'll get a few more
Wow.
arms on.
Unbelievable.
So it's a little, it never comes out to be like the same as the maquette, but it's a cool reference to deal with, having a 3D model, to work off of. So,
Wow.
yeah.
It's dynamite, man.
Yeah, that's one of, one of the things I do. Not everybody does it, but I find it helps.
Lenny, look at Danny said.
Yeah, I can't pronounce George's last name.
Mickey, you want to take a stab at it, Mickey? I know you saw the guy's name.
Oh, okay. Sugokidis. No,
Yeah, that's about what I had come up with.
Sudokidis. That's all I can do.
Yes.
We'll just call him George T from now on.
George T.
George T. The amazing sculptor, George T.
He told me that he was going to, he's outside of Greece. So he said he was going to try to, at least see what was going on, because he was,
nice.
he was very thrilled about the idea that somebody was going to take something of his, idea and turn it into, a whole crazy medium.
That's awesome.
Yeah, going from a sculpture to squash for a classically trained artist, it's got to be a cool thing. Blows his mind, I guess.
Well, you're knocking it out of the park, man. It
Thanks.
looks amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a lot of fun. It's a lot of. You were talking about like how you do that relief stuff and mapping it out and getting the depth in it and what piece is going to roll over another piece, what material to leave, so it was a lot of things. But I love doing tentacles. Because there's actually like no wrong way of doing them, as long as there's some sort of movement to it, and they're tucking inside and they disappear and they come out someplace else. So it's this is.
Yeah, I love and hate them, Lenny, because the times I've done them, I'm like, oh, this form is so great and it's so fluid, and then I have to do the tentacles, and then I have to do the detail. It's like it just never stops. It's like every little suction cup is another. Oh God, you got 50 more, and then I got this one arm done, and then
yeah. Well, I've come. Do you know what a hole saw is? The drill bit for a hole saw.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, okay. I use hole saws to make the suction cups. Here's a trade secret. Here's a Lenny Calvin trade secret. I'll create the arm, and then I leave a ridge where the suction cups are going to be, like the way we do leave a ridge for teeth when we're doing a mouth.
Right.
I take a hole saw, and I just punch holes all the way down the ridge, and decrease the hole saw so it starts off large, goes small.
Oh.
So now I have like all of these like dowel type, circles cut into the pumpkin, and then I remove the material around each circle, and I'm left with this plug, which then gets turned into the suction cup. So I can, I take put the drill bit on my drill, and I sit there and go, and then drill it all out, and I can bang them out, pretty quickly. If I'm doing like an applied arm, or like season 8, I did a head, a swamp creature that was like this high up out of the water, and tentacles were going across the water.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I did 11 different arms.
My God.
Right. And then the sugar got poured in the lake before I had a chance to attach the armatures to put these arms on. So, I'm sorry, I did 16, and 11 of them never made it onto the display.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
you
5
must be
hours.
really excited about that.
Did you win?
Yeah, that was and I had what was it, a 600-pound pumpkin as the donor. So I had arms that were, huge.
Yeah.
Twisty. Like I made an arc and cut it in like 4 places and then turned it. So the arm, did one of these. So you saw the whole twist, painted it, the whole thing. And then I was like, there it is.
Remind me to ask
You
you, I want to get your opinion on painting things because I know you do it normally, but before the end of this little broadcast, I'd like to get your opinion on how you like doing that or don't like doing that. Because I know some folks just enjoy it, and you're good at it. I've seen a lot of cool stuff that you've done. I'm just maybe I don't like it because I'm not good at it. I think that's probably I have an airbrush machine, but I don't know. I guess I need to crack it open, huh?
Yeah, it's less is more with the pumpkins, I believe. So, my friend Nubs from Nubs Graphic, he, what do you call it? Was him and I were airbrushing and stuff. So he was showing me a lot of techniques that he uses and stuff. But I find that less is actually more, because if you're just doing a dusting, like the clown face, a little bit of white, and then you throw some color on it, just a little bit. It's not like the shows where, they don't want to see the pumpkin. They just want it all painted. But it in my opinion, it ends up not looking very good because it gets blotchy.
Right.
And all the little tool marks that you didn't sand out, all of a sudden
You can see it all.
out.
Yeah.
And for us, we always want to put our best foot forward when it comes to the work. And in the competition shows, you're not being able to do that. So then you're compounding the fact that you're not totally thrilled with what you're doing. And then you throw a whole bunch of paint on it.
Yeah.
All the little, you're like, what is that? You know what I mean? But so to get back to your question after that little rant, the less is more. You definitely got to practice with your airbrush. You don't need a whole lot in the cup to spray, and
Okay.
it just comes down to practice. It takes. I have a heavy finger.
Spray hard.
Yeah. So like my airbrushes is a dual trigger, so you can push it down and just get air, and then you roll it back and you get the paint and air. But I have heavy hands, so it's like it's on. You know what I mean? So I start way away. You know what I mean? And then I work my way in because my control stinks. But
I'm right with you on that. That's why I try not to airbrush anything. As soon as like you said, you get the air going, then you pull it back, and it's just like a huge blob of paint. It's like, well, now what?
Yeah. I started on poster board. There's the slippery side, so then you could just wipe it off and start again. So I started off just drawing like freehand with the airbrush with just one color, and just trying to get, again, I'm not the guy that follows the rules, do 1,000 dots, in consecutive order so that you get the trigger finger down.
Right.
You can increase the dot, and drawing lines. No, I have to jump right in. Let's draw a face. You know what I mean? But yeah. So it's
the step by step. We're not in 3rd grade anymore. We got to dive head first.
That's it. Man, this light is so harsh. I'm looking at this guy, and it's like you can't even see him. It's so harsh.
You know what's funny? I think when the camera was closer, it adjusted for light. You can still see it. It's a little bright, but it's not bad. Like I think yesterday was what did you have? Just the backlight on the maquette? The light behind you?
Yeah. I might not have adjusted my light on my. I'm using the camera on my iPad.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's
great quality.
I don't know if that's too bright.
Yeah, it's a little bright, but you can
All right.
still see it.
Paulie, I'm anxious to see.
Yeah, that you can see it well.
Yeah, that's good actually. Yeah, that's nice.
That
If you
looks
can
great.
still carve it under that light, that's the other question, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But,
Nice.
Put your night vision goggles on for the sake of the show.
yeah. Well, I can break
Paulie,
up.
let's see what you got, man. I want to see the camping carve because I always love what you know remote settings put you in another place.
It was difficult. It is tough to carve in the daylight. Well, mine was inspired because you know how I like to get inspired. I went into the store on the way up here and I noticed that they had Halloween candy already. And it was August 25th or 26th, wherever it was. So it was like, geez, they are really pumping Halloween down our throat. So my guy is going to have a pumpkin coming out of his face.
Oh, no way.
So he's going to try and shove it down our throat.
Nice.
Badass.
Yeah, so
That is amazing.
Halloween
to do. I got the same thing going on.
Yeah,
Right down the.
You nailed that grin on the pumpkin.
Yeah, you did.
Thanks. Don't worry. I got more to do. I could definitely screw it up.
Oh, there you go.
I could find a way. But yeah, he's coming along. It's such a different thing to carve in the daylight. It's a whole different set of skills, I'd say. I had to keep like putting my hands over it to see all the detail I was trying to put in, you know. Like you couldn't see any of the stuff around the eyes or anything. And
wow.
it took me a while to get his profile.
His profile and his brows are crazy. That's so good, Paul.
Oh, thanks, buddy.
Yeah. Do the profile again, Paul. Yeah, that nose is killer.
Yeah, those usually don't play well on mine. I always turn them sideways and like, you know. that looks really perfect.
Oh, don't worry. There was 2 hours where I made that exact same noise every time I turned it.
Okay. The old pumpkin noise. Got it.
Oh, God.
Oh,
and then
God,
the kid told me they liked it, so I thought that was the kiss of death.
Usually is, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no, it looks great, Dad. Oh, man, what did I do wrong?
Oh, what did I do?
Yeah, so that's what let's see it, Maddie. The big reveal.
All
Hold
right.
on.
Yeah, here we go.
Oh, no. Okay. Hey, so what let me get my camera right. I found a butternut that was super long, and what I found what inspired me in that little thing. No, hang on, was this guy. So I went upside down with him a little bit here.
Come on.
So this is an ice cream cone, and I gave him some potato teeth that I don't think I put enough lemon on. They're turning brown, so he's a poorly fed butternut. Now, and I wanted to make a cone that looked kind of relatively real, and some dripping, like he's crying the dripping ice cream because ice cream, you know.
Great.
So I got inspired by Lenny. Lenny said we were talking yesterday, and he said you should do a cherry on top. So I took a yam. This guy isn't anywhere done, but he's going to be eventually up here. See if you guys can see that okay. So I'll just show you him by himself. So this is like a little potato-eyed yam. And this whole thing was like a big whole yam, this whole thing. But I had this, I carved it out of one piece. So this is like his stem is all part of the thing. I didn't glue it on, which I probably should have, because now I have to be so careful. Any little bend, it's just going to snap off. But so far so good. And then his eyes are just right now they're just sockets. So I'll figure out how to. I think I got to dig those in a little bit more and maybe make them a little bit more, make him more crazy, or
I love the positioning of the eyes you just had, where they were kind of facing each other a little.
Yeah,
that was so cool.
So he's gonna be sitting atop guy, his nemesis, and I don't know, one way or the other, just causing him more grief when it's all said.
That looks great. I think the potato teeth look awesome too.
Yeah.
Those came out better than I thought. This is the goofy part. So I'm carving this thing yesterday, and I realized I wasn't going to have any open eyes, so there's no real reason for. So I had a good set of teeth in here first, but then I overdid it and overthought it, and wrecked it. I was at a point where I was about to just toss the thing, and I said and start over, and I was like, you know what, I'll just keep it and try some potato teeth. So they saved the day for me. I know it's a little grainy. Sorry.
That
Not
looks
the best.
great. Looks
No, I
really.
think
But the fun part was I researched what the waffle cones look like, and they have that like beveled edge around when you wrap them together. So, and then the other part that was keeping me up all night was the head, because when you think of a scoop of ice cream, it's a giant dome, right? And so I've been just obsessing about the shape of the head the whole day. But anyway, so currently he sits like that, and eventually he'll turn right side up and have a cherry on top.
Well, I think you're killing it. Absolutely killing it.
Thank you, doctor.
Yeah, the teeth were a absolute home run with that.
Oh, thank you, guys.
Now, this is, you know, I don't know how you're going to fit it all in the camera once that cherry's on there. You might have to do this from another room.
I'm gonna have to. Yeah, I'll go back to somewhere. You know, I'll run half a mile away and take a shot of it. I guess I get.
Oh, look at Dean had a great idea. Just to add to your list of things to do.
Okay, need teeth marks in the top of the ice. Oh boy,
That's a great idea.
I was laughing yesterday. I'm thinking to myself, yeah, I want to do another scoop. Let's get another scoop, and then. And of course, Lenny goes, "How about a cherry on top?" And then Paul says, "Hey, well, how about a little girl holding it, full body?" And then Mickey throws in, "Yeah, and she lives in a big house by the beach, and you got to have all that in there." all right. But
Too many cooks.
But it's awesome ideas. It's awesome ideas.
It's bad when you get too many creative people together. And all of a sudden,
The idea starts flowing, yeah.
starts brainstorming on something, and
Nice problem to have, though, right? Sometimes.
yeah.
It is. Well, speaking of creative people, we haven't gotten to say this yet, but tonight I would like to say, Mickey, what are you working on?
Yeah,
Wow.
brother.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
So thank you for jumping me into this Carvers and Creators world. I thank you for it because it definitely flexed a creative muscle that I haven't flexed in a long time. And but I've never done one of these before. So I've always admired from afar this whole thing. I didn't even know what to get. But I got my girlfriend was nice enough to scope me out some butternut squash. So I did my first carving. As you can see right here, I'm actually going to solo myself, so I can probably get that a little larger.
Look at that.
My first carving. Yes.
Yeah, brother.
So let me say, just by doing this, I'm a little. Of course, I still want to work the star, but it's a little bit flimsy to work with. But I was really happy with how it came out. I do have questions for you, obviously, and thank you for putting me in the deep end on this one because this has been a really fantastic journey. But this just doing this, I can't imagine doing faces, and because I only try to keep it at one level, so just one level down, and just make it embossed, as it were. And this was hard enough, so I can imagine doing kind of like a relief effort. But my question to you is, how soon do you start this? Do you start it a week in advance, a couple days in advance? I understand that you guys are more advanced at this, but like when you guys were first starting, like I was really afraid about when I was going to start this.
Lenny, I'll throw it to you, buddy.
Well, it's the first ones where you started it and you finished it,
Yeah, you're right.
I'm talking about myself, but I think it goes with carvers in general. You get into that zone, and you once you start, you're vibing on what you're doing. All of a sudden, you can't stop, and you just keep, like the one I was working on today. We had our little conversation yesterday, and I was up till 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning doing this.
Yeah.
And I probably could have stayed up all night, but I knew, eventually I have to, get some sleep. But yeah, you'll there's no signs to when you start, when you don't. It's like you get the itch to do it, you do it, and you'll like how much time did you spend on that?
So I actually started obsessing on it last week when I started just drawing stuff because I just needed to kind of flush out my ideas. And then once I started doing that, I started looking at it and I'm just like, well, I actually can do that better. I can do that better. So like that's my normal process of how I do it for my branding work. So then I started like looking at like, oh, I should actually take more advantage of this space, just by looking at it. So I was already like starting it really last week. But then I started thinking about like how my own time as far as my schedule went as to how far I'm going to do this in advance. So I probably started it on, I would say Monday. And so then, to now I've just been kind of chipping away at it. But I did a majority of the work at the beginning because I didn't realize how obsessive it is. Once you get into it, you don't want to put it down.
Yeah.
And then, but I understand because you guys talk about it a lot that you guys get frustrated with your own process. So you guys actually do walk away from it or don't want to do it. But like for me, it was like I found it really obsessive to try to keep on working this one shape or like understand what my tools can do and stuff like that. So it was like a really great exploratory process.
Yeah,
Mickey, what's the favorite tool you used? I mean, just curious,
okay.
because I know you got a good set.
So I got quite a few. Well, I got the Kemper tool set. So it had quite a few of these. So let me actually show.
Today's show brought to you by Kemper.
Yes, exactly. So I mean, I have
Right.
a whole bunch of these. So these all worked pretty well. I probably should solo myself. So
There
I
you go.
had
Okay.
all these tools.
Right there.
Yeah.
Those are good tools. Yeah.
So a little bit of everything, but I'll tell you what. I remember when Ray was talking. So I actually had this from before, and it was a kind of a full tool set. So it almost looks like the dentist tools. So I used more of these tools more at first to try to get my shape. So it was almost like the same ones you would use on a dentist would use. So I liked the precision of those tools. Only for this, because I was trying to be meticulous in my line work. So I really wanted really fine lines. And but I noticed that when I needed to just get stuff out of the way, the other tools worked a lot better. So I'm sure that I'll use the Kemper tools more when I'm getting stuff out of the way, but also kind of refining and stuff like that. I think for bigger spaces. But for what I was doing, the precision tools actually worked a lot better for me.
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah. And I was just lucky to have them. If I didn't have them, I think I might have struggled on this project a little bit more.
It doesn't look like you struggled at all.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you tried. You did your first one, and now you got one under your belt. And
Yeah.
next week you're on every show that Lenny's been on.
So does that mean that the cherry you're carving right now is actually Mickey's cherry?
Yeah, I'm about to take the cherry. I'm gonna pop it. Oh, sorry.
Well done, sir. Well done.
Thank you, and I appreciate the positive peer pressure. It made me appreciate so much more what you guys are doing, because also I noticed that, and I say this to students I talk to like that are coming up. You can never like, for instance, like Paul, your idea is amazing.
Oh,
Matt,
thanks.
your idea is amazing. And then Lenny's working on something that's already an established, amazing idea, right? I think the idea is sometimes harder than actually what you're making. It's coming up with this like amazing idea and then fleshing it out.
I almost feel a little different. I feel what Lenny's doing puts an added layer of pressure on it because you're trying to, in a way, live up to the original artist, even though you're going to put your own touch on it.
Right.
So Lenny's got the tough job tonight. No pressure on you, Lenny.
Yeah.
I mean, you've already got it like so good. It's crazy. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope
I get afraid of that stuff.
George digs it when I shoot him a picture, or hopefully he's able to tie into the show or something. Because Yeah, there's a couple of artists out there that have done a couple of things that, make me think of, it inspires me to go, in a different direction. But yeah, it's something I've said to my granddaughters a lot. I help them bring them up in art, as they're growing up. And I told them that, the difference between seeing stuff and looking at stuff is where artists are to people who don't do art. We
That's great.
see things, we see the shapes and the colors, and, like all of us can contest that when you're carving outside and someone says, oh, how did that face come to you? Well, it's the shape of the pumpkin, the environment you're in, whatever. Like, I say it all the time. It's like, I see faces in pumpkins,
Oh, yes.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
So,
the sixth sense. Instead of dead people, you see faces in pumpkins.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, I said it's really a superpower because like you'll see things that other people don't see, and you'll point them out. Like, how do you not see that? Like, I do it a lot in typography where it's like, spaces and words. And I'm just like, oh my God, like I could drive a truck through that line spacing, So it's like, but I told to my girlfriend who's been really supportive on this, and actually she chimed in saying yay. So thank you very much for Melissa for supporting. But she like I've actually kind of corrupted her in a bit because she sees all these things that you wouldn't normally see in the day.
It's yeah, the creative part, never stops, so like I did this dragon, this guy.
The clay dragon?
Yeah, this guy.
Oh, nice. Wow. Look at the scales.
Yeah. So this guy was actually, the concept came from a broken tree at work. I was eating lunch in my truck and I saw the tree and it looked like a dragon to me. So I took a photograph of it, and it sat on my phone for like a year, and then I saw it randomly, and then boom, all of a sudden, the idea started coming in. But yeah, so it's, if your mind's open,
Lenny, I love it because I don't know how you can have a dragon that has an expression, but that dragon has an expression.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the amazing part. It's not just a static dragon looking at you. He's got a feeling. He's got a emotion. It's pretty cool.
He's thinking about something. He's got like almost a shitty grin.
Yeah.
Which is yeah. I like I like that kind of Jack Nicholson kind of smile.
Fly.
When I started with the pumpkins, all the pumpkins I was doing were either angry or had frowns, and my wife asked me, like, can't you do a smiley face? Like, why are they always like that? And it was, I was like, well, anybody can do a smiley face, but and then when you look at it, it's happy. Okay, so it's over with. But if it's, again, I use Jack Nicholson because I think he's got the greatest grin.
He does.
You can read so much into it. There's more than just that one grin, that's going on. So, I'm glad you picked that up, Matt, because I was shooting for, something similar to that. I'm loving your pumpkin, Paul. That's
me? Yeah. Oh,
yeah, dude. Just some of those undercuts that you're doing, it's making him pop out.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. That's high praise coming from you. I appreciate it.
Especially
when most of my day was spent going, God, I hope this reads in light, because you couldn't see a damn thing. So thank you very much.
Are you going to put a stem on it?
On the pumpkin itself?
Yeah.
I don't know where I would put it. I thought about it earlier, like having it come out of his nose or something, but no.
Where
would I put the stem?
Have it busting through the top of his head. And then you can
You're
build
gonna work on that. You're gonna work on that little girl holding that ice cream tonight, Matt.
Then you can build a little tiny city behind him.
Yeah, that's right. I could build a campground behind him.
A trolley car. Yeah, make sure it works.
Yeah, it's got to be functional. What's the point if it isn't? Yeah, there are some. I have some options here.
See, that's why I love talking to other artists about this stuff. Like when Lenny throws out an idea and says, "Hey, you should do a cherry," and then we kind of dismiss it and chuckle about it, and then that's all I think about. I'm like, God damn it!
Yeah, right.
All right, you're right. And it's just like it's just the funnest thing in the world because at the end of the day, I'm sitting at my kitchen table or kitchen counter carving a butternut squash with you people. This is like there's a lot of bad in this world, and this is actually really fun. So I'm just glad to be doing something silly like this.
I agree 100%.
So let me ask, guys, do you guys do other mediums as well?
I do some clay. I tend to only do the clay when I get in that zone where it's like, usually it would be like in April and May when Matt and I started carving together was usually when I just work on clay projects. Almost like, all right, I got to get myself in the mind frame of being creative for Halloween and getting into that process. But this year, I really haven't touched any other medium. My new medium is butternut squash.
Yeah, that's my favorite too. Yeah, big time.
Flaming marshmallows in his mouth. Nice. It's a good point.
Oh, that's true.
Are you guys self-taught as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, there you go. So now it's 3 of them.
Oh, you're self-taught too? Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, I think the beauty of being self-taught is that when we talk to people, we go to shows or we do anything like that, it's saying if you put in the hours, you put in and you enjoy it the way we do, you can do this. It's I know there's going to be limitations, and people are going to say, "Oh yeah, not like that." But it's if you saw the stuff I did 6-7 years ago when I started, I mean, you'd be like, "Oh, how cute! Hey, look, he's trying," But then almost 300. I was looking at my Instagram recently. I was like 300 something carved pieces of food later, and you get good at it. You get better, and you start like, okay, I can get into something, hate it, and then make something out of it and love it. So it's I guess if nothing else, it just says, look, you're actually 4 pretty self-taught dudes on this thing tonight, and make something out of it, and it just goes to show you that you don't have to be, go to an art school or be classically trained. Although I see some of the stuff that those Russians make, and I just like start crying. I'm like, okay, maybe there's something to being classically trained, but this is still pumpkins. So
Yeah.
But like, has anybody ever asked you for your diploma before carving a pumpkin?
Right.
That's
No,
a pretty good.
the biggest. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Paul.
No, go ahead. I was just
One of the most asked questions all the time was, one, do you consider yourself a professional pumpkin carver? And then it gets followed up with, when did you realize that? And I've always said, and I think other guys who do it all the time will tell you that if you carve a pumpkin in a hotel bathroom, you've made
you are now a professional.
Consider yourself, so
Yeah.
that one comes up a lot. That's funny that you said that. So
Yeah.
I guess I'm not a professional yet. I haven't done one in a hotel bathroom. I think I'm going to do one just so I can consider myself a professional. Like for no reason, just to do it, just to say.
Go get a hotel nearby, and
it always, when I get stuck doing that, I try to be as clean as possible, and I've always like, what does the person who got to come in and clean the room think? Like somebody just in here, with all this stuff. But
Lenny, I'll tell you what they're not thinking. They're not thinking that's pumpkin guts that they're cleaning up.
Okay, I got to tell this funny story because it's just right up the same alley. Okay, so I was when I did Halloween Wars, we were allowed to do a few things at night just in prep for the next day, especially if there's multiples. Anyway, it was like you could just kind of get ready for the next day. So I would practice on a few things in my room, and knowing that I had a big show the next day, I'd sit and practice, right? So I'm sitting there practicing away, kind of thinking, what's this guy gonna look like? And next thing you know, I'm like, oh my God, it's 1 a.m. I better go to bed. So I go to bed. Come back the next day, and I get back I pull the sheets back later in the night, the following day, and I'm like, wait a minute, I think there's bed bugs in this hotel bed, and I start flipping out. I'm like, what are these little pieces of? There's something. So I go downstairs and I ask the manager. I go, have you guys had any bed bugs? And she's flipping out. She's like, no, we don't know what you're talking about. I go, can you just come look? I don't know. And as we're looking, I realize I'm wait a minute. You know what that is? That's pumpkin shavings from my feet that dried out and got stuck in the bottom of the bed sheets. And I was like feeling like such a moron, but here I am, like, doing a midnight carve in a bathroom, making a mess. And Lenny, you said, I wonder what these poor people feel. I imagine that lady walked downstairs and going, now we got to clean that room. Now, I saw a pumpkin look like a massacre happened there. So anyway, yeah, pretty embarrassing.
What got me with that whole story, Matt, was you're like what, 9 feet tall?
He is 9 feet
tall. Yeah.
Right. And a big man like you is going downstairs and going, oh my God, there's bed bugs I think there's a little bug in my room.
There's a bug.
Got it. What's the matter, Matt? Come on now.
Hey, big people can get bit by bed bugs too. Come on. We're not immune.
So Lenny, what inspired you to carve your first pumpkin? I always like hearing that story. Like what was the first time you ever said, this is something that I could really get into?
I saw some guys put, the sculptural stuff with pumpkins. I saw it like it was happening on the market. And, I've always played around with a lot of different mediums. And 3D art, obviously, is what I gravitate mostly to. So when I saw the pumpkin stuff, I just thought it was, what a fantastic idea. Had this whimsical quality to it. I love love temporary art, and, so I was like, I had to try it. And then once I did it, it was like, I was like 12 years old all over again. And it was like off to the races. And, then I just couldn't get enough of doing it. So then it was, research and see who's doing what and, what the boundaries are, if there were any. And, it was just, my first one was absolutely horrendous.
We all have the same story about our first one.
Yeah, everything that we all tell people when they ask, like, how do you choose a pumpkin, and how do you know how far you go in, and yada, it was like, it would echo in my mind because the first one I did, was just terrible. But every mistake, everything that I would tell everybody else to look for, obviously you didn't know at the time, but that was that was how it went. But yeah, I look forward to it every year.
So I have a follow-up. Is this officially my worst carving?
No, I think I'm telling you, lettering is, for me, is probably one of the hardest things. So that is killer, as far as I'm concerned. And because if you were trying to get that, peace, love, and rock and roll, vibe going with the lettering, you totally nailed it. Like I see the Volkswagen bus, with the flowers on it. And
yeah.
That's what I see. So
nice.
I think you crushed it.
So I still got a crappy one in me.
Oh God, yeah.
Plenty, Mickey, plenty.
Awesome. I can't wait.
I have plenty of crappy ones left in me too, so don't worry about it.
Looking forward to it.
And Mickey, you know what? People who do really good, crazy lettering make gobs of, I don't know. They do well because who wants all the lettering? It's the corporations, the companies.
Yeah.
Those, and if you if you get good at that, and you start putting those on giant, cool pumpkins and whatever else produce you want, and around this time of year, and you're off to the races. It's just people don't usually say, "Hey, I want some giant ice cream cone. Can I commission me?"
Yeah, yeah, right.
I'm like, no, I can't do that. Sorry.
Well, I like money. Money's cool.
Money's good. Money works.
So,
Hey, Lenny, I got a question for you. Right now, it's your worst and your best. Oh, that's great.
thank you. I appreciate that.
Hey, Lenny, when it comes to your process, like I've been looking at a bunch of your stuff, and the octopus with the gears you did with Chris, I believe, right? Or
Yeah.
who was?
Chris from Maniac Pumpkin Carvers.
Yeah, that was, there it is. Wow, thanks, Mickey. That's one of my big favorites because it involves, you take a really crazy medium like pumpkin, and you're putting permanent, very specific gear shapes in there, and a very soft, fluid. Walk me through your process with that. I mean, because I know you talked about sketching it. You talked about what it looks like, in your mind. How does that come about, or is it a big collaboration with you, with those guys?
Well, it was. It started off with, that client, that specific client. They have sometimes have. This was in Coney Island at Luna Park, so
Okay.
Sometimes it was kind of like do whatever you want, and then we hammer out an idea. And the fun part of working with the Maniac crews, when it comes to like large pumpkins like this, sometimes they'll just say, "Hey, what do you think, Lenny?" Like, like almost like I could throw my own ideas out there, I'm more of the 3D guy than the etching and all that kind of stuff. But this specific project, Chris and I spoke, and it turned out that they had something very definite in mind. They had just put two new rides together, and one was very steampunky, and all that. So that's where the gears came into play.
Okay.
Wanted it something to tie that in, and the fact that we're by the ocean, something organic and aquatic.
Okay.
Kind of neat. So, and I love steampunk art. So, I started pitching ideas. Looking for my little sketchbook here. One second. Yeah, so I started doing little sketches. 1 second. So this was the sketch.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
I pitched to those guys what I thought, in the conversation that, as you're talking, your brain's going, and I started seeing this. So I was actually, when we were on the phone talking, I was doodling.
Okay.
And then I took a picture of it and I sent it to them, and they were like, "Yeah, we got to do that."
Yeah.
But I wanted to. I was trying to get my hands on some donor pumpkins because I wanted to make this arm. So I wanted the sculpture to go outside of the dimension of the pumpkin itself.
Right.
And then the lower tentacles here, I wanted it to, come off the pumpkin, go towards the ground, and all of that. But unfortunately, we only had the one, and I wasn't comfortable with cutting long slices out of the back of the pumpkin to make the donor pieces. So, and this was a one day carve.
Wow. That's a lot of work.
That's amazing.
That was 13, 14 hours straight.
Wow.
So yeah, it was, but it was a blast. Once that's the first one I actually did a light sketch on the pumpkin to map it out.
Mhm.
And, that only lasts for moments because you start taking the skin off and hacking away at it.
Yep.
You lose it all. But at least it gives you some starting points. But, in working, with another artist, and understanding, all the gears in business, how much material to leave where to get the gears. So I would map out, do my rough shapes with the tentacle, and then do the rough shape for the gear, and then move to another tentacle. And so you had all this blocky business jumping around, and then I concentrated on the octopus, and then Chris started concentrating on the gears and stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, it was cool. Broke a lot of tools on that one.
And
I
I had to cut this off, so it's actually humongous. So how big it actually is this?
That was about maybe a 5.5 foot diameter pumpkin.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Yeah, but it was like a big pancake. It was only about maybe 2.5 feet, 3 feet thick, maybe.
Okay.
So
Flat, but standing up, it looked big. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the second or third pumpkin at Lunar Park that I've done that we had to stand the pumpkin up, because you get there and everybody's excited that the carvers are there, and the pumpkin's laying on a bunch of hay, and it's in a horrible position. And
No, yeah.
like I'm not doing a turtle. So,
Right.
So, and then convince them to, I'm a construction guy, so I can operate pretty much any heavy machinery, but it's a carver to them. So I'm asking them, can I use your forklift? And their eyes go like, what? Like, you're going to kill somebody. And then I'm over there flipping the pumpkin with the forklift, and making a support structure underneath it. And
Yeah.
This was a fun one. That was at Stu Leonard's in
Wow.
Yonkers. That was a 1,400-pound pumpkin.
Oh my gosh. Was that the biggest you've done?
No, the biggest one I've done was at the American Dream Mall in Jersey. That was 1,900 and something pounds.
Jeez.
Yeah, that was
half a ton.
And
Crazy.
that did on the bottom, and that's another one I had to pick up and get it in the right position. And we had all sorts of 2x4s and stuff, framed out, but this one was a perfect round, like sugar pumpkin. No deformities on it. It was super, super wet. And I was carving it. It was like really cold, and it's just a roof shelter. So the wind, like you can see, there's black plastic behind me. We had to put up plastic because the wind was blasting through, and it was like I would squirt it with water, and it would like freeze on the pumpkin, and it was nuts. But it was the only bad part of that pumpkin was the mouth area in the dead center had a really bad rotten vein. So as soon as I started mapping out teeth, you could walk right through it. It just like fell out. So all of those teeth are made from Cinderella pumpkins.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So each one of those were carved individually.
Wow.
Pockets made, and then creating a pattern, but a pattern that doesn't look like a pattern. That makes sense.
Yes, it absolutely does. I thought it was all part of the
Yeah, me too. That adds a huge layer of dimension to that, because it looked like it was all part of the same pumpkin. That's phenomenal.
Yeah. So that was the goal, to make it. It started off that way. So that was 2 days. I had to work around other events that the store was putting on. But the funny story about that one was I a friend of mine turned me on to Stu Leonard's in Yonkers because of their pumpkin patch. And I went there and I was like, wow, you know, hundreds and hundreds of pumpkins. Great. So I'm picking all the gnarly ones, the ones that are twisted and bent, because those are the fun ones. So I was filling up my cart, and this guy was watching me the whole time. I was there for an hour or so. And he walked over to me, introduced himself, told me he was, you know, the manager of that department. And he said, listen, I got to ask you. He said, these are the pumpkins I throw out at the end of the day. They said, why are you throwing them? And I was literally crawling over the piles to get the one, you know. And so I had to, you know, without looking like a crazy person, I had to show him a couple pictures. So, and that in turn, he showed his manager. And then he contacted me and said, listen, we have this display pumpkin, which was that one. And he said, he goes, would you like to carve it? And I said, like, what do you want? He said, no, whatever you want. So I was like, I have full autonomy on what I want. He said, yeah, but, you know, understand kids are going to stare at it. So, it can't be too, you know, it can't be this octopus guy with a skull. So I was like, sure. So I'm, you know, I'm like, yeah. And you know, my wife said, you know, are you going to get paid? And I was like, what do you mean? Who's going to hand me, you know, a 1,400 pound pumpkin and say, do whatever you want with it? I mean, when's that going to happen? I said, you know, so the funny part of the whole thing was I did it for a cup of tea and a sandwich.
Wow.
So that was
wait, what'd you get paid again on that one?
A cup of tea and a sandwich.
Was it a good sandwich? I guess that's the question, right?
Yeah.
Well, this one in particular has been shared. How many times did you say, Matt? Like thousands and thousands of times, right?
Yeah, I happened to look last year. You know, I'm a pumpkin freak like all you people, and I was looking at it last year, and I saw all of a sudden that pumpkin, that picture took off and it went viral. And I looked, and it's something like 28,000 shares and views, and it didn't credit Lenny. So I was like shaking my fist, and I think I texted you. I'm like, dude, get your name on this. Or I don't know. At that point, it's, you know, out in the world. But I just have always loved that one, and I love the story now, knowing that those teeth weren't his, because it just makes it even cooler.
Oh, it does for you? I was like,
actually, it does for me too.
Yeah, I think because you had to build them in. It wasn't, you know, you didn't just come across that and naturally, you know, cut in those teeth. You had to make them all, which is that's awesome.
And they're undercut beneath the skin in spots, so it's like the fit had to be perfect.
Oh yeah.
They were actually 80% of the teeth were actually done in pumpkin. You know,
because of the Cinderella pumpkin on the outside, right?
Yeah, and then it was, you know, because of the blowout in the middle, I had to change the whole process. So, you know, then it came to, you know, physically making. But, you know, what was fun about those was that there's I carved in grains and divots, and, you know, there was a lot of dimension to the teeth, which was the fun part. But yeah, it was like, basically, I think one pumpkin yielded 2 teeth. I think that's what it was.
Wow.
So I was like cleaning house on their Cinderella pumpkins when I was there. You know, I'd fill up like 2 or 3 shopping carts full of pumpkins, you know, and then take a huge knife and cut them apart, and then use the curvature of the pumpkin. And it was a fun. That was a fun one to do.
Do you ever do gigs and get extra pumpkins? Like, I know I do one around my local spot, and I'll do it for, you know, just about nothing. But I'll say all I want is to leave here with a car full of really good pumpkins for my commissions and stuff, and they just laugh and say, "Here's the wagon, fill it up, whatever you want."
Yeah, Stu Leonard's has been a really good client of mine. Every year, I do pretty much all their stores. So they have like 6 stores now, I believe. And you know, I get paid for the work, but they also allow me to take, you know, pumpkins, because I always try to come to an event with a finished pumpkin, so that, you know, people can see what a finished product looks like, and then they can watch, the whole process, and then it becomes a Q&A scenario. So, it's always, I need pumpkins. So, that type of client works. But I would love to, do a farm or something, and be like, yeah, here we go. It's, I always end up with more than I carve, in a season, because, I'll drive down the road and pass the thing, one of those off the road little vegetable stands, and they'll have like dynamite pumpkins. And I'm sure you guys done the same thing. It's like you're pulling over, and it's like you're all excited over a pumpkin. It's kind of fun.
You've been on Halloween Wars a couple times.
Yes.
And did well. And you've been on, and you've done carving live and other shows and clearly other venues and stuff. Do you have a preference? I mean, do you like, from a competition standpoint, do you thrive from the competition, or would you prefer just kind of having people just talk to you about it while you're during a carve? I mean, I know I kind of probably know the answer to it, but some people just love that. Hey, the clock is ticking. I got to get this done and put up something good. But I don't know. I'm curious, because you've been on been on shows a few times, and you're good at it. So, what do you prefer?
I prefer the collaboration and the one-on-one stuff.
Okay.
Talking to people, and I enjoy the kick that people get out of seeing something they would never think you could do something sculptural with, and it's because it's a disposable art, which is what I love, and
temporary.
I enjoy it through the process. And then when somebody sees it, who's honestly engrossed in what's going on, and asking the questions, and you can see that their mind's turning. And I'm like, for a moment, I have created a new friend. I've been helpful in some fashion to open their minds to some sort of creativity.
Mm-hmm.
And then if they go home and they carve something, that's like a total win, and then I sit back and I'm like, wow, all these people are happy, and the kids are happy, and people taking pictures, and I enjoyed what I did. And it's like, what it boils down to, it's like just a pumpkin. And it's funny sometimes to me that how that can make everybody smile. And, and as far as the competition stuff goes, I've never, I think everybody's competitive in some fashion, but for me, it's working around other artists. I know I'm only going to get better, because I'm going to, doesn't matter what level anybody's at, they're going to look at something differently, attack something differently, use material differently. So it's, for me, those competition shows, it's always a win in some respect, because of that. But
that's awesome.
For Halloween Wars, be able to walk away going, yeah, I won Halloween Wars. It's awesome. What I mean? But I'm not the guy that, kick somebody in the knee to get out of the way. You know what I mean?
Right. It's funny because it ends up being a bunch of cool artists, and just one of the highlights of me being on that was just I got to meet some really cool people, and when you get a bunch of artists in the same room, they're more curious about each other's techniques and how they do what they do than they are about a competition. And so you end up just making friends, and oh wow, I love this one. Oh, this one's my favorite, and you just kind of talk through it. That to me was really fun, and just having that chance is really cool, because, like you said, you can really reach a lot of people in a medium like that, where you're saying, hey, try this. And I think the one thing I always try to walk away with is, like we all talked about at the beginning, we're none of us are trained artists. We're just, we just love what we do, and would probably be doing this if there wasn't a camera on us, or I'd probably have 3 beers into me at this point instead of none. So, which I gotta fix, because we got a half an hour left, and I'm empty.
So Matt, did you ever think that you would know so much about cake and sugar?
That was surprising. I'd never ever touched isomalt or what's that crap? Gum paste, fondant. I'd eaten fondant before and thought it was gross, but that was about as far as I'd ever gone. And all of a sudden now I'm building armatures. I'm making, grandiose, cool, like scenes, and using a ton of fondant. And I was like, okay, it was really fun to do, because I certainly wouldn't take a minute of it away, because I loved it. But but I've never touched fondant since that show. I never touched gum paste since that show, or made a cake. I don't even like cake. I hate to say it, I don't even really like eating cake.
What?
But it was really fun to use it as a construction medium and a sculpting medium. It was like a really weird clay. I made this these at the very last episode of last year. I made it was a three bears and Goldilocks theme.
Yeah.
And I made these heads out of modeling chocolate. The mama bear and the baby bear heads completely out of modeling chocolate. And the fun part was I'm like just looking at a bear's head on a, as I'm starting to kind of carve it and make it. If I touch it too long, modeling chocolate melts, because it's modeling chocolate, where clay wouldn't. And so that part was really interesting and fun. And anyway, I had no reason to ever touch it again. There's clay out in the world, so I can use that. But yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah, I had a similar experience with the modeling chocolate, but yeah, I handled it just like clay, and it was all melting in my hand.
Yeah.
And then I had a bowl of ice water, and I would put my hand in the ice water, and then I put rubber gloves on, and then that was able to go away. But yeah, it's yeah, if you're open-minded, you learn a lot of the different people.
And I just saw that a bunch of the new they just announced the new teams, so I'm like instantly fired up again to see Pumpkin Outrageous Pumpkins has another season. That's Paul the champion, sitting there carving an amazing thing right now. And
yeah, but they don't want me back. They want all new contestants. So
they got to have your back. That's not
whatever.
Anyway, enough about that. But it just jazzes me up knowing that Halloween is here. It's getting closer. When you start August, which just like to your point, Paul, we talked about how they have all the stuff in all the stores already for Halloween, and it's August. And it used to bum me out to do that for Christmas. Like, you say, wait a minute, it's not even Thanksgiving and Christmas stuff's out. And then now I'm like, oh yeah, the Spirit Halloween stores are all open, and all those it's like every closed store on has a Spirit Halloween, doing great business right now.
Yep. So that's a good time. Oh, sorry, Mickey, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead, buddy.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say we happen to have Jimmy Beale and Danny Miller on the show.
Yep.
And both of those guys are going to be on Halloween Wars.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So I was happy for them. And Danny Kissel going to be on Outrageous Pumpkins.
That's right. And the judge, Mr. Ray Villafane, who was on last week, is going to be the judge for Outrageous Pumpkins this year.
That's
like
right.
For you, Paul.
Yep.
So that's kind of
Terry Harden. Very
Lenny,
cool.
we only get the who's who in pumpkin carving on Carvers and Creators. Okay, so
Yeah.
Here. So thank you for being here. Is all I got to say.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad. I'm a huge supporter of obviously anything art, but huge supporter of anybody who's helping support artists and getting them out there and showing people what your talents are and what mediums you play with, and So this is you guys are doing a good thing here. This is awesome.
Thank you. And one thing we learned from Ray last week was his rock balancing. So I wanted to make mention of that. And I wanted to show this picture. You're super into this too, which was really amazing to find out as well. So tell me more about this.
That was on my work site, and was having a very, very bad day. So I needed a little break and do a little Zen things. So I did this cinder block. And because it was indoors, it actually stayed overnight and was there the next day. And the masons who came to the job, they were Portuguese and Spanish and whatnot, but they were freaked out over the fact this was sitting there. So they kept whispering, Diablo, Diablo, and they wouldn't go near the pile. So for the rest of the week, I kept setting up more and more cinder blocks. And then at the end, I had to knock them over and, and make them feel okay. But yeah, it was kind of fun. And so the little evil side, I guess. I don't know. But
yeah. You've really gotten into this.
Yeah. It's a pretty fascinating process. It's very, I don't know what the right phrase would be. It's very calming, very Zen-like.
Therapeutic.
Very therapeutic. I didn't think I was following a gentleman, Gravity Glue, who's turned it into an entire art form. He's an amazing guy. And, reading some of the posts and things, and I was like, okay, this flower child kind of thing, isn't me. And then I went to the beach one day and decided, sunset was happening, and then it was like, oh, let me give it a go. And then I did some successful ones for my first time, and then just realized that you can do this and have a weight of a rock disappear in your hands when you find the balance point, and you find yourself realizing that you're focused purely on one object, one thing, and it's very very peaceful. So I understood when the guys who do this legit, what they're talking about, because it's a very, very calming scenario. Because you have to be still, you have to breathe, you have to concentrate, you have to feel what's happening, But it's it's pretty cool.
I got one of those things. I know how to breathe.
Yeah.
I'm not even that good at that.
There you go.
So let me ask you, while I have you all here, it's something I deal with a lot. How do you deal with distractions? Do distractions, do they annoy you? I always feel like, for me personally, it's like an Etch-a-Sketch. So it's like when people like call me or try to get my attention or try to do that, it's like I literally have to almost like reset and kind of go back into what I'm doing. How do you guys feel about that?
I think I've gotten better with it over time, just because, like we talked about before, I've learned to walk away. You know what I mean? Whereas, like Lenny said in the beginning, if I was doing a sculpt, it was getting done that night. Yeah. And if I got distracted then, that was a mess, and I didn't know how to restart. But I've learned to, if there is a distraction, to address it and then go back and kind of, now I have a fresh set of eyes on what I'm doing again.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I'm able to tune it out. I get focused and I don't hear anything anymore.
Yeah.
Which is why I got yelled at in season 6 of Harper, because I put my head down and I'm like, okay, I got to do this, and I would just do it, and people are talking to me and I'm not answering anybody, and then they're like, dude, you gotta talk, you gotta acknowledge.
Which I think would be a really hard thing to do, because you do have to be focused on what you're doing.
Yes, that happened to me on me and Frank on Outrageous Pumpkins. They'd be like, "You guys got to talk to each other," and it's like, "Well, what do you want us to do? Do you want us to work or talk to each other?"
Right.
Competition. We're trying to literally focus. Believe me, there's a lot of chatter going on in my head right now. I'm trying to keep quiet. But yeah, that's I think that's why the TV is a whole different ball game. With they want you to, they need your monologue. They need all that dialogue to put into the show.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I've been playing around with some ply pieces. So I don't know if I had.
Look at that! Holy moly!
Wow,
So good.
That's insane.
So it starts changing, like when you get outside the dimension of the object, it starts getting a little bit different, which is a lot of fun.
Well, the applique pieces came out amazing.
Yeah, Lenny.
Yes, everything.
On the face, like under the eyes. Can you show? I want to see that a little closer. Oh yeah. Okay. I love that detail. That's crazy good. I was like, that's where it's attaching it to. That's crazy. So cool.
Yeah, what I wanted to do, and I don't know, I wanted the skull to be like in like that position.
Yeah. Kind of, yeah, looking down a little.
Yeah, but this still's got, it's I'm liking it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so everything in the center is all the squash.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna add. I think I'm gonna add something. Maybe carve something in his skull this way. Coming down.
Yeah.
On top of his head, or maybe. I've been cutting these pieces. I don't know. Might add. Do
you have a donor squash?
Yeah, I have this guy. I've been dealing with the curvature.
Yeah. Okay.
Sort of an SE sort of a shape, and then my all-time favorite tool is this potato peeler.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I do a lot of shaping with the potato peeler.
Hang on, I think I might have that same one. Is it a Titan?
Yes. Yeah. I love this thing. I do a lot of stuff.
Ouch.
Especially like when I do hands and stuff. I do a lot of sculpting, like the rough shapes with the fingers and things with that one. But
that's one thing I've learned on this show doing. I think Paul can attest. We started talking about it, and I started getting tool envy right away. I'm like, well, how do you do that shape? Oh, I have this shape. Oh my God, crap! Now I got to go buy that. So I think every week I find a new one that I need to go buy. Who knows if I'll ever use them? Probably will.
Well, I'd like to get that tool at least. Can somebody send me a link? I have a cheese slicer. That's what I use.
The thing about this tool, Paul, that you'll like is that it's got a natural rake to it already. You see those?
Yes.
And I wouldn't say that it's better or worse than a cheese peeler, but it gets it's not as it doesn't dig. It's just a nice top peeler,
Right. No, man, I love that thing.
yeah, it makes it really it's a smooth cut, Paul. When
I need one.
yeah, I don't know if
Trying to get the light to show this thing, but
yeah, it's you can do a lot of like almost like whittling.
yeah, and the serrated teeth really help too. I got to get one. Somebody send me a link.
This one's like next newest one, this little plastic one.
Oh yeah. Oh, that looks more like and what's that? A melon baller attached to it?
Yeah.
Wow. Keep one.
It comes in a set of 3, and like doing these squashes. This is what I use to take the skin off. It does it in seconds. It's super sharp and works really, really well.
Oh, I got to get one.
So I have one question for you, Paul.
Sure.
Construction worker to construction worker. Okay.
Sure.
How much do you get ribbed when you tell them I'm taking off X amount of days to go carve pumpkins? Like, how did that go?
Right. Let's put it this way. My name is Paul, and it rhymes with pumpkin, so they just call me Paulie Pumpkin.
Oh, there you go.
I get it pretty good. Yeah. The company I used to work for actually got a kick out of it. They thought it was funny because I would always bring pumpkins in and just, hey, make one of this guy, or make something like that. And I'd bring one in and be like, yeah, sure, that's him. Oh, yeah, that's great. And of course, it was just whatever I was going to carve that night.
Right.
The company I'm with now, it was kind of part of the deal when I took the job was I said just that, Lenny, which was sometimes I'm going to need to take time off in October, maybe September, for pumpkin carving. And they were just like, sure, okay, if that's part of the deal, well, we can deal with it. Yeah, the poly pumpkin thing. Actually, one guy goes, can I just call you pumpkin?
Yeah. Yeah,
That's fine.
Yeah, I get ribbed a lot, you know, with yeah.
You only get teased by the guys that like you. That,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I love it. I got thick skin, you know. I do quite a bit of teasing myself, so when somebody has a good one aimed at me, I laugh my ass off. I think it's great. Plus, it's something. It's a cool little hobby that we have. You know what I mean? And when you can make some money and you can inspire somebody else to do it, well, that's even cooler. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's go.
Yeah,
I get this thing to read.
Down.
Oh, you put a light in it, Paul.
Yeah, I put a couple in there. They're just not reading well. I'm gonna have to do some. I got 3 glow sticks in there. I probably should have put a flashlight in there or
Oh
something.
yeah, you can see them.
Super.
Yeah,
cool.
but I thought they would have been brighter. I'll figure out a different lighting solution.
Yeah, I love the mouth on that. It's got a great.
Thanks. Hopefully I could keep them fresh, so when I get them home, I can actually photograph them with some good lighting.
That's how many. I'm nuts about when I start taking pictures. It's like I think I spend more time trying to find the right lighting and the position and the whatever than the carving part. You know, my phone blows up because you know, like the last couple ones that I did in the squash.
Yeah.
Ridiculous amount of pictures, and they all look the same. But you know, and you go through each one, and I'm like trying to find out which one's the best.
There's one that, yeah, there's a little bit of focus in that one area that wasn't in the last one, or the light's just a little bit different. I'll use like a filter too sometimes to help sharpen it up or put a little bit more definition into the cuts. Like, you know, what your eye sees is completely different from what the camera's picking up. So if you can adjust it to be a little bit more of what you're actually seeing. Like, I hope I could pick up all the work I did around the brow and you know, maybe I can, if I put a cool filter on it, like that pixel loop. You ever use that app? That's pretty crazy for the iPhone. I think Ray does it a lot. You can actually enhance. You could put I could put like a candle in there, like an animated candle.
Oh.
Or you could make this. You could have some flow to it.
Nice.
I don't like to do too many filters because then that's not really what you carved. You know, that's not the CGI version of what you carved. But as long as it's how I see it, because I feel like the camera doesn't do it justice sometimes.
Yeah. So how did you get into the carving scene?
I watched guys like Lenny Calvin and Ray Villafane. Literally, I used to sit on the couch with my wife, and we would watch stuff like Halloween Wars and then Outrageous Pumpkins, and she'd go, "You know what? You could do that," and I'm like, "No, I can't." She's like, "Have you tried?" And I'm like, "I don't even know what the tools are." Like, that's a different ball game. And she's just very supportive of anything that I do when it comes to art. So when we started having kids, it was like, all right, now I want the cool Halloween house, so I'll carve a pumpkin for the front porch. And then, you know, I tried, and obviously I'll never show anybody the picture of it, and it was terrible. But I tried again, and then I think for some occasion she got me the Ray's old video that he had.
Yeah.
And so that was cool for the basics of blocking out. I thought he did a great job of explaining it. And from there, it was just, all right, now you literally have to put in work. And then I'd go and watch Halloween Wars, and I'm watching you cut apart this monstrous pumpkin, being like, I don't even know what I would, where would you find a tool? It's like he's using samurai swords on this thing right now. How do you come across a tool like that?
I went to Harbor Freight and bought sawzalls because they're like super cheap, and they're hammered. You know, they're filled with so much water and pumpkin junk, and you know, they're just, you know. So like season 6, I left a couple of tools like that. So like the team, one of the teams that I liked a little more than the other, who was going to the finals. You know, as you're packing up your stuff the next day and you're leaving, I had like this box with tools that I wasn't going to bring home, and I left it on their station, you know, with a little note, you know, knock it out of the park, whatever. But nobody ever like reached out to me and said, dude, thank you so much for the tools, you know.
Really?
Yeah. It was like, I thought somebody was going to, you know, drop a line or something, give me a little kudos for, you know, doing something decent. But, you know, whatever. What are you going to do?
Well, no, you got to have Irish Alzheimer's. You can forget everything but a grudge, Lenny.
There you go.
It's like if you hold the door and somebody doesn't say thank you. Oh, that's the worst.
Yep.
So, Mickey, when are you going to do your first face?
Well, I have another butternut squash that I was going to take an attempt. So I was thinking about trying to do it next week.
Yes.
Again, I could have like put it off, but I'm like, why not? So I'm going to jump in and see what I can do and bring something. It's going to be a challenge for me. Although I got into about 10 years, probably over 10 years now. I thought that a lot of my graphic design work was going to go into motion graphics. So I got really heavily into 3D, there's Maxon, Cinema 4D and stuff like that. And there's other programs too, but it was hard for me to kind of wrap my head around all the things that you could do in it. It was almost like too much. But I feel like in Photoshop and Illustrator, stuff like that, people would probably think the same thing. So I kind of had to figure it out. So I'm gonna give a go, and I'm gonna try to. What do you suggest? Do you suggest that I just kind of wing it, or do you suggest that I go for trying to look at a face I'd like to recreate?
Yes, I would, you know, start off simple. I would say do, you know, and I know I said I don't like doing smiley faces, but a smiley face is an easy thing,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because it'll show you, like when you do the mouth area by taking a flat tool like this one, and the way you angle it to create the shadow, this tool itself will create a nice simple lip, you know, with minimal amount of work and technique. It's just the angles, because that's all we're doing. The three of us, we're creating shadows. Sculptures are based on lighting, so we're carving it in the direction that we want someone to see it, and the way the lighting's hitting it. So all the little nuances that we're throwing in, it's just the shadows, like Paul's eyes. He rocks them, and it's just the way,
thanks, buddy.
just the way that light hits each layer of the carving, that creates that lifelike, you know, pupil and iris and the highlight, you know, and all that. So to do, to do something simple, and look at, you know, I tell like my granddaughters all the time. I'm going to sound like a broken record bringing them up. That
they love it.
Yeah, you look at a face, and we're detail orientated in nature. You know what I mean? So you focus on that expression and the wrinkles and this and that, and you get overwhelmed. And you're like, holy crap, I can never do that. But if you look at the shapes, the rough shapes of it, you know, and attack it in that respect. You know, I don't know if I sent you guys a picture of a rabbit.
Yes, the clay rabbit.
Yeah.
I did
the
that.
Frankenstein style.
Yeah, I did that rabbit as a little art class with my granddaughters. They wanted to. I
love that.
Yeah, that guy was Snowball in a kids movie, something Pets.
Pets. That's what it's called. It's Pets.
Pets. So
yeah.
Kevin Hart played the voice of that character, and his name was Snowball. So they chose that as the sculpture. So we did like a little art class, how to make the armature that it's standing on, you know, making a ball out of tin foil to bulk it out so you don't waste a lot of clay. And then we had a reference picture of him looking around the corner. So again, we talked about shapes. So I said, you know, if you look at the shape, I'm like, what shape do you see? And they looked at it, and I said, they asked me, and I said, well, what I see is a big pear. You know, the shape of the head looks like a pear to me. And then the other shapes are a bunch of circles: the nose, the cheekbones, the two eyes, two bananas for ears. So, you know, our next step was to make those basic shapes so that you have those things in play, and then you're just defining those shapes, you know, and then you're defining that, you know, area as well, you know, a third time, and then you're getting into the detail part. And I wish I can't show you, you know, because of the medium. They killed it, you know, regardless that they're my granddaughters. I was blown away with that. And it again falls into the realm that I believe everybody has an artistic talent. They just haven't found the medium to express it in, you know? So I think, you know, and then the other one came into play because I did water-based clay with the other guys, and they cracked. Mine cracked when I dried them out for the girls. And I told them, Papa's isn't going to work. And they were like, no, you got to save them. So it was during Halloween time we did it. So I gave him stitches to hide the cracks. And then the little one said, but he's going to be lonely. You got to make him a friend. So the little zombie dude came into play.
I like his pal.
So that's what that picture
So
is
the
all
stitches were a happy accident?
I'm sorry? Happy accident?
The
Yes.
stitches were a happy accident.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
That's my favorite term.
it kept me from making a whole nother one to make them happy. So I was like, yeah, let me.
Oh, it looks great, man.
Yeah,
I
it's
love the
just-
stitches. I think the stitches sell it for me as like this Frankenstein bunny
Yeah, yeah.
with the stitches around the ear.
So,
Killer.
so you nailed exactly the way I was going to approach it, which was shapes. And I tell my
Shapes.
girlfriend this all the time. It's everything is shapes. So like I was even making reference to like Freddie Mercury. If you look at Freddie Mercury's face, he actually, I think it's his left cheek. It's actually really super enlarged. So like half of his face looks very distinct. His other face, part of his face looks very, very normal actually. But those two sides actually make him really unique. And then it gets into the details of like how you detail it out. So that's how I was going to approach it. I'll see what happens, but I'm super inspired because I'm even looking at Paul, like the way that you actually went in the back and actually were doing the inside. Like I'm getting an advanced class like every week about how to approach this. So it's really amazing to watch it. That's something that
That's
you
just
can't
jack-o'-lantern.
teach.
Oh well, you're gonna get taught, buddy. We're gonna be teaching you by
God.
by
I'm
the
getting jumped
Halloween
in.
rolls around. You're gonna be,
Am I gonna have a little
yeah, you're gonna
teardrop?
be
I'm
all
gonna get a
in.
little teardrop. Carvers and Creators Club.
no, you gotta
Right.
get a little pumpkin seed.
Little
We do pumpkin seed.
teardrop.
We'll have orange bandanas.
Yes, I agree. I think that should happen.
Oh boy.
Nice.
All right,
That
so
looks
final
killer.
pieces, right?
Oh,
Yeah, he's
so
gonna
good.
gonna
Pretty
get a couple more.
You're gonna do a couple more.
Yeah, just
Wow.
roughing in, you know, some extra ones, but you know, I wanted
So cool.
to, you know, like the maquette. You can see where, like the two outer ones were like where the ear sockets would be.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm trying to, you know, get up into that realm. And I'm on the fence about the one I did on top of his head crawling in his eye socket.
I like that one. That's
good.
a challenge right there, huh?
Yeah, because he's got another one hook around on the other side. But
Right.
yeah, I have a few more hours, I think, on this one before I'm gonna call it quits. But then I gotta find
It's a labor of love.
Yeah, I think I might save this one.
There you
Oh
go.
yeah, 100%. You should save
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Matt's gonna get a 600-gallon fish tank to save his by the time it's all done and stacked.
So
Yeah, I gotta
let's see
get-
what you got, Matt. There.
I gotta get 4 more layers on it. All right, so this is my ice cream cone.
Cool.
A couple of drips down the sides.
So
You know,
good.
the cone, and then this is his little cherry buddy on top. Where's my camera? Let's see here if I can make this work.
There you go.
So good.
So he's got.
Oh, that's great.
So it'll be a better final picture for sure. But right now that's kind of where I'm headed. And then and I'm gonna do some more deeper cuts in the eyes to make it stand out a little bit more. But this guy,
I love this guy.
So good.
he's gone nuts. And I swear next time I'm just gonna make my own stem out of another piece, because this was just a nightmare trying to not break it. And luckily, as it sits right there, it's not broken. But give me 5 minutes, it'll be broken.
Well,
That's
that's great.
You have to save that in the memory bank for next time you go on a show.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I-
Yeah.
I-
That's a
Absolutely.
great idea.
That's like Halloween War stuff, like all over. You know what I mean?
Don't waste your time. Exactly.
To the team.
Yep.
But
So another hour and a half has flown by. We're gonna have to wrap it up. Always follow, like, subscribe. Please tell a friend. Thank you for all your support. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Lenny, can you follow him at Lenny Calvin Creations? Anywhere else we can find you, Lenny?
I'm on Facebook, Instagram. I got a couple of videos on YouTube, and there's a website as well. So yeah, any social media stuff, I guess.
Tremendous. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, it really amazing to see your
Knocked it out of the
process.
park.
Yeah, and Paul on location. It was like not even a blip. It was really great. So thank you so much.
Nice. Well, it's that's that clean, cold air kept me connected. I can see my breath right now. It's got to be 40 degrees.
Oh my God,
Wow.
crazy. And Matt, do you want to announce who we have next week?
Oh, Mark Evan will be joining us from a Lenny pal, Mark Evan from
Maniac
Maniac Pumpkin Carvers. So we're ecstatic, and by the way, the next show is on a Wednesday, so we have to tune in early for that one.
Yeah.
But it'll be just as much fun and really amazing to see, because it'll be a new style for us. I've never even attempted one of those relief pumpkins that he is very good at. He can do 3D like anybody's business, but he does absolutely amazing artwork in those relief pumpkins too. So can't wait for that.
Awesome.
So-
I'll be interested to see what he does.
Me
Yeah.
too.
So next Wednesday, which is September 2nd. Yes.
Yep.
Oh, September.
September 2nd at 4 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So thank you again, Lenny. You were tremendous. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Matt.
Thanks.
We will see you next week. And it's been another great edition of Carvers and Creators. Thank you. Good night.
Thanks, guys.
See you
Good
guys.
night, everybody.
See you, Lenny.
Later.
See you, Paul.